Good evening, everyone. Continuation of our regular meeting, Monday, September 20th, 2021. It is 6:04, and we have the JFK Committee. Welcome. You have the floor, and just name and title, and welcome.
All right.
Tell us all the good news that's going on.
Anybody else was coming or not?
Yeah, they're coming.
All right. Hi.
Go ahead, sir. You have the floor.
All right.
Welcome, everyone.
Thank you. My name is Randy Daigle. I'm fortunate enough to be the chairman of the JFK Building Committee. Good to see everybody. This time I'm here for another project. It's been 19 years this month that I've been volunteering doing this for the town. So we have JFK coming today. So what we're going to do, I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves and then we'll start.
Hi, my name is Jill Lexi. I'm with JCJ Architecture, and I'm the construction administrator on this project.
Good evening, Marcus Brennan, project executive with Gilbane, on site full-time.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sam D'Agostino. I'm an assistant project manager with Construction Solutions Group.
So we're going to start with some good news and continue with good news. So I'm going to allow Sam to go ahead with the budget.
So as you can see here, our total project budget is a little over $84 million. Ineligible costs are around $450,000, which means costs that are not reimbursable by the state. That gives us a remainder of eligible costs that will be reimbursed by the state. Again, a little over $83 million. Eligible costs are reimbursed at a rate of 70.71%, as you can see here. And then to date, we've been reimbursed a little over $22 million to put towards the project.
And we also currently have a little over $7 million into the state for reimbursement that we should be getting, the town should be getting within the next several weeks. So it'll be close to $29 million back from the state as of right now. We are a little bit over halfway through the project right now, and we are several million dollars under budget, and we are ahead of schedule. So one of the things... Stop right there. That's right. Thank you very much. We're out of here. So one of the things you're going to hear during the project, when we first put this out the bid, it was pre-pandemic. We were fortunate enough to get the prices locked in. And as you all know, the building costs have skyrocketed since then, but we were able to lock the price in and start off the project under budget, and we're maintaining it under budget. One of the things we did, the architect, the owner's rep, and Gilbane, when they put out their trade bid packages, we pulled some of them as an alternate. We didn't know at that time where the costs were going to come in, if it was going to be under budget or on budget. Luckily, it came in under budget. So all those items that we took out and had an alternate bid, we were able to put back in. Every single item that we took out as a precaution, we were able to put back into the project. So as we go through these slides, I'm going to interject different times, and in some of these areas, I'll bring to mention that we added these back in. They weren't part of the base bid. So with that, we're going to continue. We're going to start the presentation.
So this is a drone photo from just last Friday. It's a mosaic of several pictures the drone takes, and you can see the breadth of what we've done on the site so far. The entire building footprint has a new roof at this point, with the exception of the old media center wing. The entire north lot, so upper portion of the photo, has a new parking lot, and that was completed over this summer. The fields in the back are roughly graded at this point, and over the coming weeks will be hydro-seeded, and we'll be growing grass through the fall season. And then you can kind of see the red lines, if you will, is actually the site fencing that's still up, delineating the construction areas that are there. The balance of the site work on that south lot will take place next summer to round out the balance of the site. Next photo. So this is obviously similar to that. The left photo is the site logistics portion. As I mentioned, that north lot is on the left of the page, the green. All that was completed. We're working on the fields in the back now. We have one of the two-story wings currently under construction, the left on the lower, yellow on the lower left. And then the center hub we have partially under construction right now, the old auditorium area. And then if you look at the right picture, this is the interior phasing of the building. So that gives you a good idea of how the center hub is broken up as far as what is in a condition where the students utilize those pathways to get to the other wings. And the other area we have under construction, kind of on its island, if you will, is the gymnasium, which is that yellow block in the upper left. And that'll be wrapping up in October. We're putting up gym equipment right now, and the flooring contractor's coming back next week to sand and seal the floor. So by mid-October, that gymnasium should be ready to go.
One of the things that we did by design was, as you guys are aware, previously the school, the way it was designed, when they had a function at night, the entire school was open. There was no way to lock down the cafeteria, the auditorium. The auditorium was in the middle of the hub, so all the spokes were open. So after every event, the custodians would have to literally walk around for several hours on every floor in every classroom to make sure nobody's hiding. Kids aren't, they play their games and they're hiding or whatever. So one of the things that we did as a committee and with the architect is we allocated the back of the school where the new auditorium, the cafeteria, and the gymnasium's located. We were able to lock that area down from the rest of the school. So if there's any evening functions, we can have, and the parking is accommodating everybody in the back for that also. So if there's something going on in the evening, we can lock down the rest of the school. The custodians don't have to walk around. Once they do their cleaning, they lock their doors, and we can hold functions. So as you can see, the big area that's in the green in the back consists of the new D wing, the auditorium, the gymnasium, and the cafeteria. The gym is in yellow right now. It's going to be turned over pretty soon.
So these are some good shots of that area. Obviously, the upper picture is that north lot a couple weeks ago at this point as it was getting wrapped up. The lower photo is the outdoor classroom, so a paver area that is part of the pathways as you go out, that it can be utilized as a classroom area as the school wishes.
One of the things you do not see in this photo is the 28-year-old temporary classrooms. This is where they were, and this is where the new outdoor classroom area is.
Some more additional outside photos. So the upper picture is obviously the new basketball courts. The day before this picture, they just got painted, and there's still line striping that has to go on. That'll be happening over the next week or so. And then the bottom picture is standing way out in the fields and looking back at the baseball, or future baseball diamond.
So one of the things I mentioned early on that we were able to add back into the project, and Public Works is extremely happy about this, is that we were able to put back the irrigation of the fields. All the fields are going to be irrigated now. Like I said earlier, we pulled them out just to make sure the numbers came in. We needed to build a building first. But now the building, we have the cost for the building and the extras, the irrigation got put back in.
So standing outside the new auditorium and the new auditorium entrance, so the building to the right in this picture that has the lighter red siding, it's a cement board siding, and the gray siding that's right below that canopy, that's the auditorium proper. The 3 double doors there get you into the new lobby area of that auditorium, and the gymnasium is on your left in this photo.
One of the things you're going to notice in here is we have these boulders. As far as security, we required to provide, usually you see these big bollards, steel or concrete bollards in front of the entrance areas to protect cars from crashing into the areas. So instead of doing that, the architects, JCJ, decided to do them with these boulders achieve the same purpose, and it gives it a better feel. It makes it more comfortable. And the other day I was over there driving by, and had to have been 2 to 3 kids just sitting on them, talking away. So it gives it a sitting area, and it just gives it a more of a natural look, and not so institutionalized with these concrete bollards sticking up.
So this is a shot from a couple weeks ago inside that auditorium, standing essentially in the top row, looking back at it. You can see all the wood paneling, all the seating, the stage flooring going in during this photo, and we are wrapping up, putting up carpet in that area today and tomorrow, actually. And we'll be turning that space over very shortly.
We're going to be able to sit comfortably 600 people.
This is the lobby area right outside the auditorium. So the 3 doors you see in the distance are the 3 doors we saw in the earlier photo from the outside.
As you can see on this photo, there's water on the floor. We had, in the area above the ceiling here, this roof area here, we're removing and replacing the entire roof system. When we got to this area here, when the crew took the polyiso, the insulation off, the roofing material off the decking, the previous roofing company that did it saw cut the metal decking. So when we pulled the material off, the deck came with it, so there was nothing but steel structure underneath. So we had to order steel, had to have it come in. They put the steel down, and we were only able to put a temporary roof on it. And that was the night when that microburst came through Enfield. A small area of the roof, the corner, got pulled up, and the water found its way through. And you can see the ceiling in the back of it is regular acoustical ceiling. That was wood. It got damaged. We pulled it off, and Gilbane's crew put ceiling, the acoustical panel ceilings up there until the material comes in. But one of the things I want to emphasize about this is that every project's going to have issues. There's never a successful project without a single issue. But when this happened, it really pulled the team together. Everyone, CSG, JCJ, Gilbane, instead of just sitting there and complaining about this area, he moved the crew to another area. We didn't miss a beat. We did not miss a single day. They moved their crew. They started going in it. And the logistics, everybody took care of the materials. They're on their way. So it was totally a team effort. And like I said, not one day was missed when it could have been several weeks of downtime. So very pleased to have this team.
This is the corridor between where we just saw that auditorium lobby, and it goes into Yellow Wing, which is where the cafeteria and gym are. You could see off to my left, that's where the 2 new locker rooms are. The boys and girls locker rooms are in that corridor.
Similar area of the building. So this is the old black wing. The left photo is standing at the outside doors, looking down the hallway toward the hub, and the right picture is a typical art room as well.
I just wanted to talk a little bit about the new flooring that we're using. So both of these photos kind of illustrate it. So this is an LVT flooring. So it's a luxury vinyl tile, and it is a very low maintenance floor. What we had previous to this, and I think what's around Enfield, is a VCT system. And part of that system is that you have to wax it and then strip the wax and re-wax it every year. And I think it took the janitors, how long did it take them to do that?
2 to 3 weeks.
2 to 3 weeks to do that process during the summer. And so now with this new flooring, they no longer have to do that. So it's saving them time, and it's also saving them money because they don't have to buy that wax anymore. So we're hoping that this is a good product for the school.
And it's extremely quiet. You walk down the halls, and it's like you don't even hear your own footsteps. It's amazing.
Well, it's also, just to piggyback off that, it has more of a matte finish. So you can even see in the corridor where we have all these downlights coming down, you're not getting like that big bright spot of the light hitting it. It's really kind of dull and just diffused. So it's nicer.
We're still sticking in that black wing. This just shows right outside one of the music classrooms. You can see the teachers have already settled in, started putting stuff on the bulletin boards. And in future slides, you'll see furniture that has been moved into all the classrooms as well. So this is a typical art classroom. So prior to students coming, we had all of the furniture installed in all the turnover areas. So there's, I believe, 3 art classrooms. They all have these typical larger tables with the teaching stations, and you can see the teachers already, settled in, moved on all their stuff. And prior to teachers getting there, as well as when teachers were there, we coordinated with school staff getting all of their contents moved from temporary spaces into new spaces, making sure everyone's stuff was accounted for, and they were ready to go for the first day of school.
One of the things that CSG is doing on this project, they're playing multiple roles on this one. Not only are they the CA, the construction administrator, they oversee the construction, they're also acting as owner's rep. We don't really have a dedicated person yet in town that oversees the construction, a facility manager per se. So they're actually acting as owner's rep. On top of that, on top of what those 2 items, which I'm simplifying it, it takes a lot of time and effort, Sam also takes care of the logistics for the move-in. So as she touched upon, before the classrooms were even cleared out, they labeled, they tagged, they inventoried everything that was there. She had a list of where things were getting moved to, had a list of what was coming back, what wasn't coming back. So the logistics, as you can imagine, for many thousand pieces of furniture, and I'm talking about every piece of furniture was tagged. Phones were tagged, erasers, I mean, it was incredible. So CSG, even though, like I said, she kind of just downplayed it and brushed upon it, the logistics was phenomenal, and it's still going on because it's a multi-phase project. So I just wanted to bring that up.
So this is still in that black wing. This is one of the band rooms in that space. You can see, like I said, all the teachers moved in. They've already stored all their instruments. And Jill, do you want to touch on the ceiling?
Yeah, sure. So as you can see, we have, for the ceiling system, there's sort of an open cranberry grid. And then below it, we have sort of these strange looking pyramid diffusers. So the reason for this is because we have, music occurring in these classrooms. We wanted to maintain as much volume in that area as we could, which is why we went with the open grid system. And what you can't see above there is all that black that's above. There's actually a spray applied acoustical treatment on there to also help with the sound. And then these pyramid diffusers that we have kind of throughout in a pattern also help with the sound quality in the space.
Taking you over to the old boys locker room, which is now the kitchen servery. So that area was complete and turned over with this fall, and it's up and running. And we continue to work through little glitches. As this morning, one of the hot pans wouldn't work, and we had our crews running over to get it going and get the service techs out. So it's all the kitchen ladies are enjoying the new space. This is the old pool, which is your new cafeteria. You can see that it obviously in its final form here with all the furniture in place.
This is what we call the extended caf or the spillover cafeteria. It's just made for extra space in case we have, a lot of students in the bigger cafeteria. It's also connected. You can see that door in the back that connects to the cardio room that has all of the treadmills, ellipticals, and all of that equipment that they can use for gym class as well.
some photos of the hallways just outside that area. So the left photo is essentially standing at the hub, looking toward that wing. So the gym is in the distance on the left, and the cafeteria would be in the distance on the right. The photo on the right is as if you walked 100 feet down that hall, and the cafeteria is immediately on your right, with the gymnasium immediately on your left in that photo. So this is obviously the gymnasium. This is probably about 2 weeks ago in this photo. At this point, the floor is completely laid and fastened down. The crew is in there now installing the gym equipment, as I mentioned earlier, and we'll be working to get that gym floor finished over the coming weeks. Locker rooms in that wing of the building as well are brand new. So you have brand new gang bathrooms and brand new locker rooms adjacent to it that are right off the gymnasium. The white wing is the two-story wing we finished over the summer. So it was the second two-story wing that we had under construction. The left photo is obviously a typical classroom, and the right photo is your corridor on the first floor.
I just wanted to mention here, you'll notice that the desks look a little bit different from a traditional student desk. And the reason for this is that it gives the teachers more flexibility in terms of how they can group these desks together. So there's a lot of opportunities for students to work in, pairs or small groups for the teacher to kind of walk around and help everyone. And I mean, too, even just like this, they still work. So.
And they also raise up height-wise, too. Not only do they move around so that she can, like Jill said, have private teaching areas, but they also raise up because everybody's not the same size.
So this is one of the science classrooms in White Wing. Pretty self-explanatory, as you can see. We have all the science tables, and those are actually adjustable as well. You can adjust the height on all of them. And this is another classroom in White Wing. You can see, like Jill mentioned before, the teachers have definitely been utilizing the ability to move the desks around and kind of teach in smaller groups. They've already put up all of their posters and things like that, and everyone has been very happy since they moved in, so it's been great. And then this is just another classroom in White Wing as well. This is still in the two-story classroom wing. This is just the corridor on the first floor.
As you can see in this photo, one thing that we did in this school is everything is air conditioned. Every classroom, every room, every office is all air conditioned. No windows, no window units.
So these photos are of the temporary corridors in the hub. So when we looked at the map before to connect between the wings, we just started construction in the hub when summer started. So what we did over the summer is all the underground work, got the slabs back in place, built several of the permanent walls as well as some temporary walls so the population can get from wing to wing while we still have the majority of that hub under construction.
One of the things you can notice in this picture is any of the rooms that are inside the hub area, some rooms we were able to put skylights. You'll see it in another photo, but some rooms we were not able to. So what the architects did was they put some of the walls are glass. They're see-through. They're soundproof and they're tempered glass, so you can't break them. But it allows more natural light in these rooms that are located inside the hub area where they don't have direct access to the outside.
So this is the old auditorium. The slab had been completely removed. Obviously, all the seating and all the old auditorium equipment is gone. We put underground storm and electrical in that area and poured the slab the day before this photo was taken. You can see the sunlight coming through the deck, as Randy mentioned. So skylights have been cut into that area, and we're in the process now of building the CME walls in that area for the future tech ed area. Area H, Red Wing, is the last two-story wing that we have under construction. Demo and abatement at this point is complete. We are putting the windows back together as we speak. I expect windows on site hopefully by the end of the week. to be starting to go in. The roof is done, and we are inside now working on fit out of that wing, which the next photo will show. So you can see overhead MEP rough in this photo had started, the ductwork coming down from the roof and branching into the rooms, overhead electrical conduits, the overhead sprinkler piping is all going on at this point. And with the windows going in, we'll be weather tight in this wing in roughly a week or so we can start the sheetrock process in the coming weeks.
So one of the things I wanted to mention before we get into the question period is when we started designing this building, we were running into a problem with what's called swing space. We knew we had to keep the building open. We couldn't move the kids off the site. So we were able to utilize the construction pattern by having some wings under construction while some kids are in the other wings. One of the things that the architect between JCJ and CSG configured was the use of the media center. Unfortunately, at the beginning, the media center is under the 20-year warranty that the state has, which basically says anything under 20 years, you can't get reimbursed on any work being done there. We were like a year and a half shy of it. But through CSG and Gilbane and architects, JCJ, they were able to convince the state that we needed this as swing space, which was direct relationship to the construction of the project. So they concurred that, okay, we can use it as a reimbursement. So the money that we get and we're receiving back, the almost 71%, we were able to push back into the project. As you all know, the media center is the first thing you see on Raffier Road. So we were able to come up with additional funds within the same project, and we're going to redo the entire exterior of that. We're going to repoint it. Right now, the granite coping is bleeding through off the walls, and you can see them. All that's getting repaired. We're going to change the coping so it matches the building. So we, as a committee and as a team, we were really nervous about having a complete brand new building and have this thumb that's sticking out that within the next 5 years, we're going to have to go to referendum to repair or fix. So we were able to convince the state to allow us to do it and being reimbursed. So that's going to be all part of it. So the entire building is going to be brand new when we're done and we walk away. So with that, we'll open it up for questions.
It's a beautiful building, and thank you for all your work. Just a simple question. The classroom doors, are they all equipped with locks that lock from the inside, or no?
The hardware?
Yeah, the hardware. All of the classroom doors are lockable. Yeah, they're all lockable.
From the inside?
Correct.
Okay.
And every door is numbered. So from the outside, every door and exterior window is numbered. So the fire department, the police department will have a map, and they'll know if, God forbid, somebody calls and says, I'm in room 218, they can look on a map and know what room that is. Because it may not coincide with the room number, but it will coincide with the window and door. So,
Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
Councilor Casati?
I'm very impressed considering I've worked in that building for several years, and being the former athletic director over there and being an original member of this committee when we
Absolutely.
first started, the progress is fantastic. I'm really pleased to see everything that I am viewing, and so I'm really, really happy to hear that. I'm really happy to hear about the media center, that you have the funds to be able to redo that. Now, is the roof also going to be redone?
The roof is still under
Roof is
warranty.
still in- the roof is still in good
It's still in
shape?
good shape. We've had no issues with the roof. But being under warranty, if anything were to fail, we can go back at that.
Right.
So it's still in good shape.
Well, that's great. I mean, when I look through and I see the black wing and how, you got rid of the pool, and I think it's a fantastic idea, because when you had mentioned before about chasing students through the building on an athletic event, it kept me in very good shape, I have to say. But I also think at this point in time, the way, our society is right now, blocking that building off the way you have it, to have that entrance coming in through the back is fantastic, and I'm highly impressed, and, you're further along than what you expected and under budget, and so it's really good. Not
Thank you very
saying that,
much.
COVID helped a little, but, but not having the kids in the building for a period of time. So they really worked hard. Keep up the great work, and can't wait till the final project is fully completed.
Very good,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Councilor Ungar?
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I really enjoyed it. Did you mention the projected completion date? Is
I
there-
don't believe we did. The
Okay.
intent is to wrap up major construction by the end of next summer. And we'll have trickling work into the fall, but the intent is to be completely done by the end of next summer.
Wow, that's great, thanks.
Councilor Riley?
I'm so impressed with this. I'm so excited that my kids are going to get to go here next year. I had a question about the outdoor classroom. So I'm assuming that that's going to be like, have some sort of covering on it out there, or is it just going to be like that open?
Well, I think the intent is to have it not covered.
Okay.
If at some point we want to purchase something to cover, the town can, but it's just it's not a dedicated classroom. It's an extra classroom, so the teachers will have to coordinate who can use it and who wants to use it when and what. But it's not going to be a covered one.
Okay.
And there's also an outdoor seating in the cafeteria, which we didn't touch upon.
Oh.
So if it's nice out, the kids can also see it, and that also is fenced and secured area. So we're giving the kids, as you all know, the town knows, a little bit more freedom, a little more responsibility. With the responsibility comes repercussions, which comes learning. So, it's been such a culture shock from coming from JFK to a high school, where everybody's trying to get them a little bit up to speed, so you're not starting from stop. You're slowly getting there. So
Yeah, definitely. And so all of the entrances or places of entry have the boulders. I really like the boulders way better than the pillars. So every safety entrance basically is going to have all the boulders. around.
Well, there are some doors that have bollards that are under the canopies of the blue wing, white wing, and red wing, because it didn't make sense traffic-wise. It would inhibit the traffic sidewalk space. So they consciously use the bollards.
Gotcha.
But those are no longer entrance areas. Those are exit and entrances only. Egress only, not entrance. So, but there was a conscious effort to not put those stones in those areas just for traffic control.
Cool. That's all I had, you guys. It's awesome. I'm so impressed. Thank you.
Anyone else? For me, the hub is the biggest thing. I mean, when you talk about having kids learn a little more responsibility, again, when the building before all this, the hub was where all the kids were, and it was great to see them just walk around and have their own little conversations in their own little world, and it's so important that is part of it, and it looks great. Because again, you're right, it teaches them just how do you converse with another human being your own age, and it's great. And and the rocks are great. I mean, I drove back there myself, and what a great idea. I mean, it gives actually a campus feel to it, and I'm sure maybe I don't know if that was your intention, but certainly came out that way. And then question, the basketball courts are fantastic. Love the color, great idea. People are already using them. So even without the 3-point line, people are already using them. So the question is, can the town, at some point, will they be ready for any fall sports, or next spring at the earliest, or next fall?
Probably I would say next fall.
Next fall, okay.
One of the things, too, I didn't mention, we were able to light the courts. Initially, we weren't going to, it wasn't in the budget to light the courts, and then when the sun goes down,
Right.
It was done. But we were able to, and we're in the process of doing that now.
That's great.
It's going to be lit. not only for security, but, you know,
And those
now it
courts
could be
were
used.
they were being used a lot before all this. They were actually, a lot of the kids played there, so that's great.
Were.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, and then, I mean, really, the last thing, having I know this was sort of at the time, but the irrigation is huge. I mean, I know you sort of touched on it a little bit. That's big, because that was what some of the criticism, like the fields, it's a great layout, but, sometimes that water runs right off and it gets dry out there. So, I mean, I think it's great that you were able to build back in, have an irrigation system. Because it really is, and when you go back there, and especially now when the leaves start changing, it is spectacular view, and seeing kids play sports out there is great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good for you folks, you'll build that back in. That really is a big deal. I mean,
Oh.
it really, I mean, I know you kind of greased over it, but it's a big deal. Especially from just the school, and then when the town uses it as well in other sports. So I think it's great that you're able to move that back into the project. And really, I think, other than everything that's been you folks have gone on, it is amazing how, when you look at the parking lot, the way it was before, the way it is now, it's amazing. It really is. I mean, that was in tough shape. And then the curbs were all spiked out, and I mean, you drive back there and it has a completely different feel. It's a completely different feel, and good for you, for everyone who's been working on this, because it does. I don't want to compare, but it's on par from what you folks accomplished with the high school so far. So hopefully as you finish the next year, you'll be on par right there. Yeah.
Well, again, this was a team effort from day one, from our liaisons. Any point that we had a question, we'd ask them, they'd have the answers for us. We go to town managers, they have the school department, Andrew, the principal. I mean, everybody is a phone call and immediate answer. This is, the team understands. This is our house. When it's all said and done, they leave, but we're all here. And they talked to the teachers before this was done. They talked to the custodians. They talked to the end users. They didn't just draw pretty pictures and make it work, or hope it worked. This project is from lessons learned from years about doing other projects, and we are reaping the benefits from cost-wise to quality-wise to design-wise.
And the skylights are a great idea too. Any more natural sunlight? I'll end on one question that, again, I was there when we had the issue. So how are we in the boilers? Just want to ask, I mean, I know we had one at Hughes back. I know we're going to get brand new boilers. Just curious on if you want to.
Everything's brand new, and
It will be turned on very shortly for this
All
winter.
right.
and we will not be renting
Down to one that didn't work a few years ago.
No trailers. We can take that out of the budget.
All right, good. All right. Anything else from anyone? Anything in closing?
Just again, thank you all for all your support and backing us up all the way.
Great job, everyone. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you back when it's close to completion. You have,
Yeah, we'll do it.
do you want John? No. All right, so we're going to move right into probably a shortened version of the American Recovery Act, sort of some of the town.
Yes, if
Yep.
Alex will get it up on the board. There we go.
So I'll turn it over to our town manager, Chris Brompton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've been working diligently with staff from finance and the manager's office and public works over the last several months to make a recommendation to the council as to how to expend our share of the American Rescue Plan funding. So this presentation will be a preliminary introduction to it, and
Marie.
and then the council will have time to consider it. It doesn't have to be cast in stone. We are still awaiting the federal government to adopt some final rules that they're promulgating for the final expenditure of these funds, but I think we're within the lines. We have been working with Congressman Courtney's office. We've been attending state and CROG meetings to give some guidance. We've been reviewing, and I've sent you plans of other communities in regard to how they're going to expend the funds. So briefly, we'll give you the overview, and then as each phase, if you want to make changes, we can do that at subsequent meetings, probably after November, to let the new council ultimately decide. And then as each piece comes forward under the time frame, it will be explained again, refined, and then it will be expended from the monies that we've received. So next slide. This is just basically the criteria for eligible use of funding to support public health expenditures, address negative economic impacts from the emergency, replace public sector revenue, provide premium pay for essential employees, invest in water and sewer infrastructure, and investing in broadband infrastructure. Those are the areas that the government says you can expend these funds. Next slide. What we will be receiving is just shy of $13 million, $12,920,920.60. In June, we received the first half of our tranche of 50%, which is almost $6.5 million. So we have that in the bank in a separate fund so designated. And the remainder of the fund should be received in 2022. The deadlines. The town has until December 31st of 2024 to encumber or obligate the funds. That's why we're making the presentation. So ultimately, that would be the blueprint to say this is how we want to spend them. And then we would have until December 31st, 2026 to actually make the expenditures. Next slide. These are what we've designated. We were, and the council was very insightful in leasing with an option to buy the Enfield Express. It has been a huge success, 2 buildings over at 820 Enfield Street for drive-through town services. We've used it for dog licenses, taxes, and then ultimately as part of the building consolidation plan, we put over there the tax department and assessor's department. It's been very successful. And then because we had the space, council also created the police hub where you've designated 4 resident officers. And we did that because it's adjacent to the future Higgin Park, which we've already started to implement this summer. It has 1.7 acres of land adjacent to Town Hall, so we can double the parking. We need it. If you've come to the Enfield Market on the weekends and seen the increased use due to the playscape, this parking will be much appreciated. The cost, we believe, we negotiated a good deal with the owners. They're anxious to sell it to us, and we're getting credit now for the payments for rent. So the cost of that would be $725,000, which we are eligible to expend from these funds. So that's one recommendation. Next, as I said, we've already encumbered and started to implement the Higgins Park. We put in the playscape this summer. You've also funded the 2 walking trails, 1/3 and 1/4 of a mile, plus an outdoor basketball court. Those are all funded already, and those are underway and will be completed by the end of this, hopefully the fall and the beginning of the spring. We're also adjacent to the St. Adalbert's indoor basketball and sport facility that you've already funded as well. That'll be on our agenda in October to sign the lease and to actually purchase it and make the improvements. But what we did here, these 3 items, we've also, I like to have contingencies. We pay as we go. We did some things out of the budget. We did some things in the budget, and we're expending some money from the ARA funds. What we have here is parking for the Higgins Park, which is behind the Express, which I just talked about, $425,000. The fitness stations at the already funded walkways, and then a band shell, which would be in the Higgins Park. I will tell you, we've put those in the recreation referendum. They are there. But if the voters were to decide not to go forward on the splash pads and the pool, you would still have this money available to complete those portions of the park. And I think it's reasonable. We wouldn't be spending the millions on the pool and the splash pad, but it would do these amenities, which I think were part of the plan that council wanted to see implemented. So I'm giving us a safeguard here. If it's passed at referendum, it would free up this money for other purposes that you could decide at a later date. Next slide. These are the new proposals that we're making. Pickleball lights, it's been hugely successful out there at the pickleball courts, which you've already restored and improved. There's been a request and a petition for lighting, so Public Works costed it out. That would be $57,500. The next one is field improvements. As you know, we've had people come before us from soccer and Little League and girls softball. The council has made some great investments. I will tell you 3 of which are: one, the new girls softball field to replace what we took away behind Town Hall here for Higgins Park. That will be constructed in the spring. That was almost $750,000. We also at Powder Hollow for boys baseball and their use, we funded improvements of $750,000. And we've also, as you saw at the last meeting, authorized funding of almost $1 million for a new turf field and a track at the high school. So those are all bought and basically paid for. What we'd like to do, because we do have a significant need for other fields in the town, we'd like to appropriate $1.5 million for the general use of fields for all of our sporting programs. And if you look at the bottom here, I've included a picture at the high school. We've entered into talks with Chris Drezik, the superintendent, Public Works, myself and Kasha, and Finance. We've been meeting. We've now started a new focus group. We'll be meeting again Thursday. As you can see in the bottom picture, you see the turf field to the left, which is the focus of the $1 million for the track and the field. What we've discovered, however, is the other 4 fields that you see there are primarily unable to be used, and Bob's nodding his head. That's why the boys' baseball has to go out to Powder Hollow. It floods. The drainage is inadequate. So here we have this beautiful multi-million-dollar best high school in the state for internal use, and we have probably some of the shoddiest sports fields in the state. It's something that I think we could address. What we now realize is, and the superintendent said, before we spend the $1 million we've already appropriated on the fields, why don't we look at the whole complex? So we've put in an additional $1.5 million. He is going to up the ante as well to match. And what we're looking at, so that you know we'll be coming forward, we'd like to fix the drainage. Those 4 fields could perhaps be 4 or more. We'd like to do them in turf. They'd be able to be used for all the different sports in town. And also, there are old trailers out there. We have an inadequate media box. We don't have bleachers for home games. We saw the other night we had a little trouble over there because sometimes oil and vinegar. This would address that. There would be a grand entranceway that there was actually a architectural conception done a few years ago for this, where you'd come in, it would be a beautiful grand entrance, there'd be locker rooms, there'd be other facilities. So we're saying, let's get the most for our money. As the superintendent says, we're not going to see money like this again in our lifetime. Let's invest it appropriately. And I think this high school and our residents, our students and our athletes deserve it. We're working on that, but this is $1.5 million designated. We'll come forward with a plan for you, but I think it's going to be quite incredible what we can do there with our existing space. It really will be a sports complex that we can be as proud of as we are of the high school and the presentation we just saw that we're going to be on the JFK. We've included a $100,000 payment towards this bike path design. This is the one we've received a $925,000 state grant for through Thompsonville, connecting to Windsor Locks and Suffield. Our share for design is $100,000, so we said, why don't we put it towards that? It's 10% of the $1 million, and I think it's an appropriate use as well. The next slide, as Gina reminds me, you can never have enough outdoor bathrooms. So what we've done, since we're doing the improvements at these other parks, we now would like to include bathroom facilities at Brainerd Park for $378,000, Powder Hollow Park for the same amount, $378,000. Higgins Park restroom and locker room. We've included in the referendum bathrooms for the new pool area, but again, should that not pass, I think we would like to have the bathrooms. As you know, we have the Enfield Market, we have porta potties, they're unsightly. I think sometimes they're not sanitary, and so I think the park alone would benefit from that, so we've included it here as well. If it's passed on the referendum, then again, you would have that money freed up for other purposes. You know, Town Hall is a very well-used building. The bathrooms are antiquated. We constantly get complaints needing of repairs. It is your town hall. We've done a nice job of redressing, I think, the council chambers, doing the new media room downstairs, and I think it's appropriate when we have guests that the bathrooms, we shouldn't be embarrassed. So we've included that as well. We've looked at what other towns have done, and basically this is an appropriate use of it. It's to support small businesses that have been impacted by COVID over the last couple of years. This isn't a magic number. It wasn't scientifically arrived at. We've kind of looked at what other towns have funded, and given our size, this would be a $400,000 fund. We would anticipate that Nelson Teresio and Community Development would oversee it. We have criteria for it, but basically it would be for your final approval when you talk about it and look at it. We're thinking about one-time grants to small businesses with under 50 employees who haven't received other large amounts of federal aid. That would be in the application process, and they could receive a one-time grant of $5,000 to $10,000. So you would be able to help quite a few small businesses in town, and that's something that we're recommending as well under the use of the ARA. As you know, you purchased the 7 acres adjacent to the existing public safety complex so that we could propose a regional public safety complex for housing our EMS, a police department, and a regional facility for training. We were fortunate enough to have the governor include that in his bonding bill this past winter. We've carefully articulated, with help of the bond council, the question for the public safety complex. The total cost of the complex is going to be $15.1 million. We hope to receive $12.8 million under the Public Act and the governor's bond bill, and then the balance would be $2.3 million, which John, and we've assessed for the regional portion of this, would be eligible to use the funds. Therefore, there would be no taxpayer dollars from Enfield expended on this project. And our question was very clear. If you read it that we passed the other day, it clearly says the total cost is $15.1 million. We only authorize borrowing up to the balance of the 2.3, and if we don't receive, for any reason, the bonding money from the governor, we will not go forward. But we wouldn't even have to borrow the 2.3 if you decide to so designate $2.3 million from the ARA towards that, so you would have a brand new state-of-the-art regional public safety complex with the expenditure of no Enfield tax dollars. You know, we upgraded the water pollution control facility. It's, again, state-of-the-art, will service for many decades to come. But as part of that, you need pump stations that are throughout town. Now, we've been doing pay-as-you-go and saving. We have 17 pump stations throughout town. Currently, we've saved $4 million that we have in the bank. The total cost to replace and repair the ones we have is probably $13 million. So what we've done, again, to be looking to spend from different areas. We have the $4 million. We're recommending that we would take from the American Recovery Fund. It's not fun, it's not sexy, but I think it's appropriate that we'll save impact to have to put it into our CIP and have an effect on our mill rate, almost $4 million for pump stations. And again, we'll come forward later. They range between $750,000 to $2.5 million to upgrade each one, and you can decide. Again, we'd come to you with each one of these for your consideration at the appropriate time. Lastly, premium pay. This is what the federal government has designated for frontline workers such as police, EMS, and public works, those who worked on the front lines during the COVID. So we've designated $750,000 in a fund that the council would determine the criteria. We would tell you who's eligible. You could determine the amount, and that would remunerate them for their courageous service during COVID. The last page, that's the total. We've been given $12.920,906. We've allocated $12.920,906. So we give this to you. We'll send it out. Food for thought. I think it's a good blueprint. Remember, we have to follow the rules. We'll find out what the final rules are from the government. But we've tried to address needs that otherwise we would have to pay through the tax rate system of the town. So this saves basically our taxpayers $12.9 million over the next several years that we can use for other worthy projects that the council deems appropriate in upcoming budgets. So we wanted to be prudent. We wanted to help businesses that were distressed, reward workers who saved us and worked for us during it, but also invest in infrastructure that's real, that would save decades of future taxpayers from having to subsidize these programs by the budget process alone. So it's for your consideration. We'll talk about it, I expect, in November. We'll bring it back up, perhaps have a workshop. And then if you give it your blessing, as each phase comes forward, we'll come before you. It can be discussed in more detail and then make the appropriations through finance. Thank you.
So save your questions, since this is the beginning, but thank you, great presentation. Yep, thank you. So we move on to the public hearing. It is 7 o'clock, 6:57. Today is September 20th, 2021. The public hearing ground rules, roll call. Sheila.
Counselor Bosco. Counselor Sakala.
Here.
Counselor Crisati.
Here.
Counselor Hemler.
Here.
Mayor Ludwig.
Here.
Counselor Mangini.
Here.
Counselor Muller.
Here.
Counselor Riley.
Here.
Counselor Safraza.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Souza. Counselor Ungary.
Here.
It's 9 members present, 2 absent.
Thank you, Sheila. The following notice of public hearing was published in the Journal Enquirer on Friday, September 10th, 2021. The Town of Enfield legal notice. The Enfield Town Council will hold a public hearing on September 20th, 2021 at 6:57 p.m. in the Enfield Town Hall Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, in order to allow public comment on the opt-out provision from the PA 21 through 29 for the accessory dwelling units, ADU provisions. Information regarding the proposed opt-out provision will be reviewed at www.enfield-connecticut.gov. Please direct any questions to the Planning Department at 860-253-6355. Submitted on the 9th day of September 2021 by Sheila M. Bailey, our town clerk. The following ground rules for the public hearing. There is no time limit, but we ask each person do not take up too much time so everyone has the opportunity to speak. After each person who desires a chance, we shall permit an individual a second chance. After those individuals desire a second chance, we shall permit those individuals a third, fourth, etc. Please refrain from personalities. So this is specifically on this public hearing. Would anyone like to speak on this public hearing? Anyone like to speak specifically on this public? It's for this public. But this is for specifically this act. Okay, so it's not general comments yet. Okay. Anyone else like to speak specifically on the act? Anyone else like to speak specifically on the act? Hearing none, I declare the public hearing closed. We move on to the regular meeting. Tonight is Monday. Welcome, everyone. Today is Monday, September 20th, 2021. It is 6:59 p.m. in the council chambers. Prayer, please rise. Councilor Mangini.
Lord, we ask that you guide this council in making sound decisions by granting us wisdom in our decision-making while providing us with tools necessary to show courage and, most important, compassion and understanding for those that we serve. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please, Sheila.
Counselor Mangini.
Here.
Counselor Muller.
Here.
Counselor Riley.
Here.
Counselor Safraza.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Souza. Counselor Ungary.
Here.
Counselor Bosco. Counselor Sakala.
Here.
Counselor Crisati.
Here.
Counselor Hemler.
Here.
Mayor Ludwig.
Here.
9 members present, 2 absent.
Thank you, Sheila. Item 4 on the agenda, fire evacuation announcement. In case of a fire, we do have the exit doors in the back of the building. Please orderly go either left or right out to the back doors, or to our left to the audience's right doors that have the exit, and there's a door right out in the hallway. Please go down those doors in an orderly fashion, down the stairs and out into the parking lot in case of a fire. Item 5, minutes of preceding meetings. Regular meeting August 30th, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Councilor Mangini, seconded by Councilor Ungary. Is there any deletions, corrections, additions? Hearing none by show of hands, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstention? That's 9 in favor, 0 against. Sheila, do I have a motion to approve the special meeting of September 7th, 2021 by Councilor Muller?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Crisati. Is there any additions, deletions, corrections? Hearing none by show of hands, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstention? 9 in favor, 0 against. Sheila, again, the regular meeting of September 7th, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve? By Councilor Muller, seconded by Councilor Mangini. Is there any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none by show of hands, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstention? That's 9 in favor, 0 against. Sheila. Item 6, special guests. If whoever's here, like to come sit at the table, if you're welcome. You're welcome if you don't want to. You guys are the daughters of the American Revolution. Please come up. You can sit right at the table. Welcome. And Councilman Mangino, when I'm done reading, I'll give it to you so you can hand it to him. Is that okay?
And I'd like to say a few words, if I may.
You'll go, if you want to go first before I read the proclamation, so go right ahead.
Thank you. Welcome, my fellow daughters. Thank you for coming tonight. We are here to honor and celebrate our Constitution Week, and our Mayor, Mike, is going to read the proclamation and present it to our Regent, Sharon. But I did want to just briefly mention that we have lineage or heritage as daughters of the American Revolution to promote education and patriotism. And I'm very honored and pleased to be a member of our group, of our Penelope Terry Abbey group. And just briefly, I was going to read the Americans' Creed, which is one of our creeds that we recite in our meetings. I believe in the United States of America as a government of the people, by the people, for the people, whose just powers are derived from the consent of the governed, a democracy and a republic, sovereign nation of many sovereign states, a perfect union, one and inseparable, established upon those principles of freedom, equality, justice, and humanity for which American patriots sacrificed their lives and fortunes. I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to support its Constitution, to obey its laws, to respect its flag, and to defend it against all enemies. And that was written by William Tyler Page. But again, I'm very pleased that we're here to honor and respect our Constitution, especially now in the times that we're faced with. Thank you.
Thank you. If you guys want to give your name for the record, you're welcome. Any quick comments before I read your guests? So you're welcome. Just make sure the light's on and you have the floor. Go right ahead.
Hi, I'm Sharon Scavera, Regent of Penelope Terry Abbey Chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution, and I'll thank you in advance for this proclamation.
Welcome. Thank you.
Hi, Gigi Landry. I'm Vice Regent of the Penelope Terry Abbey Chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. Again, thank you for having us here this evening.
Welcome. Thank you for both coming. If council just wants to rise. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm Suzanne Teleski. I'm the treasurer.
Welcome. Oh, you're the treasurer. You're doing all the work over there. All right. Welcome. So, proclamation declaring September 20th through 24th, 2021 as Constitution Week in the town of Enfield. Whereas more than 2 centuries after our founding fathers gathered on September 17th, 1787 in Philadelphia, our nation continues to be guided by the Constitution for the United States of America. Whereas the Constitution of the United States reflects our ideals and establishes a practical system of government and provides 3 separate branches, the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. And whereas the Constitution protects the rights of our citizens and maintains the rule of law. Whereas during Constitution Week, we affirm our commitment to its stated purposes to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote for the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our prosperity. Now, therefore, I, Michael Ludwig, the mayor of the town of Enfield, on behalf of the Enfield Town Council, the Enfield Town Administration, and the entire community, do hereby proclaim September 20th through September 24th, 2021, as Constitution Week in the town of Enfield, and encourage the citizens of Enfield to honor the achievements of our founders while taking time to reflect on the rights and privileges of our citizenship. Bill, you're welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. We move on to item 7, public communications. We have an hour, 7:10, and you have 5 minutes first time and 3 if you get up to the second. Again, we ask that you refrain from personalities, and you have to be a current Enfield resident to speak. Anyone would like to speak for the council at this time? Welcome. Just name and address for the record, and just make sure the light's on. Welcome. Yeah.
Hi. My name is Susan Choquette, and I'm here representing the Opera House Players at 100 High Street.
You have to be an Enfield resident.
Does the Opera House Players not count?
It does, but this is for public communications, not for organizations.
I'm an Enfield resident.
Okay, go right ahead. Come
Then
on
Josh
up.
Prowser will speak.
Yep. Sorry.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, name and address.
Yep.
Welcome.
My name is Josh Browser, resident of 32 Nancy Drive in Enfield.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm here before you tonight because our situation at the Opera House Players at 100 High Street is an urgent situation and is being ignored, we feel. The Opera House Players has been an integral part of the Enfield community since April of 2018. Since that time, OHP has put on 8 successful musical productions, bringing in over 10,000 patrons to the community. I would like to take a moment to remind the council that the Opera House Players is run completely by volunteers, neighbors, friends, and citizens who love the arts, all of whom have full-time jobs and families outside of the organization. We do this in our spare time because of our love for the performing arts and what it brings to the community. The Opera House Players have been trying to present to the council for several months regarding the urgent decisions that need to be made regarding 100 High Street and the Opera House Players' ability to remain in the building and in Enfield. OHP, at our own expense, has paid for professional consultants to inspect the building and carefully outline and describe all of the main issues pertaining to the structural, mechanical, and electrical systems. All this information was presented to town management in June and subsequently sent to all council members. Also included in the information that we presented and sent was documentation of the $58,000 that OHP has spent in plans, inspections, repairs, and upgrades to 100 High Street, and another $20,000 upgrades that are planned. We've also recently had to spend another $450 to purchase and install a system of security cameras to help protect the building and our members and actors from the ongoing drug use and drug dealing going on in the parking lot and the stairs around the building. Per the terms of our lease, OHP has the option to purchase 100 High Street for $1, which we had initially intended to do when we first moved in 2018. However, we now know what the real state of the building is, and that the true cost of taking over the building is well over $200,000. From an HVAC system that has parts that are over 30 to 40 years old, to windows in the bell tower that are literally only being held in place by the wind and air pressure, to the buckling foundation on the east side of the building, and the literal flowing river of water in the basement every time it rains. OHP is at a critical decision point. We want to bring the arts home to Thompsonville and be a large part of the revitalization. However, the town of Enfield needs to also make the commitment to Thompsonville and the revitalization effort and commit to the resources that are needed to fix the structural and mechanical issues at 100 High Street. I would like to also remind the council that 100 High Street is now in the Connecticut Register of Historic Places, so it cannot be left to ruin or be torn down. I know that the town has big plans for the future of Thompsonville, but the Opera House Players are here right now. We're here, but we will not be for long. This is no longer sustainable for us. We are a small arts nonprofit organization built on volunteers, and time is of the essence. The town must make a decision on the repairs to 100 High Street no later than the next town council meeting on October 4th, so that OHP has time to make necessary decisions about our future at 100 High Street and in Enfield. Another urgent matter that I want to bring up is the current restriction of the use of the town annex. Our November production of Mamma Mia, that happens to be the same production that was canceled when COVID shut us down, was to be at the annex per our agreement with the town of Enfield. We just recently were told that no outside groups were allowed to use the town building until further notice. We've been able to find other performance spaces and are at imminent risk of having to cancel our Mamma Mia production. An email was sent to the town manager's office on September 16th. We received a response today that it would be heard tonight. We just barely made it through COVID financially with the help of some grants we received, but the loss of this production of Mamma Mia will be financially devastating. We asked the town council to decide on this by Wednesday, September 22nd, and to make an exception to this rule and allow the Opera House Players to use the annex as previously scheduled. I will be here during and after this meeting if anyone has any questions for me or would like to discuss this at any points that I have made tonight. And I thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Welcome. Name and address. You have the floor. Welcome.
Amanda Marquez, 8 Hoover Lane.
I spoke recently at the Board of Ed and the Town Council meetings regarding the mask mandate and the emotional, mental, and physical harm that it has on our children. Other parents also sat here and voiced their concerns about the damages these mandates are causing. We fully understand that we are under the governor's order until September 30th, and while we were hopeful both boards would hear our concerns and stand with us, I was not surprised by any of your responses. On one guy, I can't take on the state. The mandate handcuffs you and you don't have an option. These were responses from our Board of Ed members. Imagine if every time we faced opposition, we thought these things. Imagine if we taught our children this when they were up against a fight. Well, you're just one person, so nothing you can do. Just give up. I'm just one mother, and yet here I sit again asking you to stand with us and advocate for our children. We were also told to take our argument to the state level, to the representatives, legislators, and the governor. It's naive to think that we haven't done so already. I've personally done hours of research, made numerous phone calls, and have written the appropriate emails. So, of course, I would also come to voice my concerns to my own local Board of Education and Town Council. In 1 week's time, the decision very well could be left up to the local level to decide on the mask mandates. That's why I'm here. We've gone through society over the last year and a half with measures in place that we now find out were ineffective. That's another response we heard at the last meeting. They were correct on that. As we get further into the research around COVID, we learn that certain procedures are not effective in prevention. Experts who reviewed evidence from the Spanish flu of 1918 have concluded that masks failed to control infection, that the masks were worn until filthy, and used in ways that offered little to no protection, exactly the same way they're worn in 2021. To fully understand the danger of improper wear and handling of face masks, all you have to do is observe how the public is managing them. The CDC website states, do not wear your mask under your nose or mouth. Do not wear on your chin or dangling from one ear. Do not touch your face mask without cleaning your hands before and after. The WHO states that people can infect themselves if they use contaminated hands to adjust a mask or repeatedly take it on or off. At your last meeting, those who chose to wear masks were continually touching and adjusting them, while others wore them completely under their nose. Most members also removed their mask, letting them dangle off their ear every time they talked, either into the microphone or to each other, negating any protection. Were you removing your mask because it's hard to hear or understand what you were saying? Did you remove them because it's uncomfortable and hard to breathe? Or is it because you aren't wearing it properly to begin with and it's just a facade? No different than a Band-Aid for a child not bleeding. It just simply makes them feel better. Do you not think that if adults cannot even follow proper donning and doffing procedures and keep their hands off their mask for a few short hours at a meeting, that children are somehow wearing theirs properly for 8 hours at school and on the bus? Even if the masks were effective in the prevention and spread of COVID, the general public is not even wearing them correctly. Is it going to take us 100 years to realize as a society that the masks are as ineffective now at stopping the spread as they were in 1918? As mentioned before, there are numerous studies and research on the ill effects of masking children for extended periods of time. Since the last town council meeting, have any of you taken the time to do your own personal research into the safety of prolonged masking? Town council members commented last meeting how people do have the right to choose. I want to allow people to make their own choice on the matter. Parents do need to take control and responsibility over their household and over their children. Even though these comments were made in regards to a different topic, they are nonetheless true when it comes to masking as well. We do need to take control, and remember, we in fact do have the right to choose. Masking is a personal decision, and it's one that should be made on an individual basis by parents for their own child, not a blanket mandate by governing officials. The definition of liberty is the power of choice. Most people would agree that this is the way a society should function: liberty and justice for all, words we just stood and recited. Our government is telling us they know better than we do. They make the best choice for my child. Has Governor Lamont ever met your son or daughter? Does he sit with them after school and ask about their day? Is he in the doctor's office deciding medical care for them? Yet we are to believe that he is taking our child's personal well-being into consideration more so than their own mother or father. It is clear that the fight for our freedom to choose not to mask our children will be ours alone. As a board, you will not come together and advocate with us. With that being said, I'm at least asking you to have at least enough conviction to say that parents make the best decision for their children, not the government, not elected officials, nor our Board of Education. So if and when the decision to continue to mask our children does land in your lap, you make the right choice, one made not based on fear, but based on courage to allow the parents to choose. Another quote from last meeting: for masks, there's a simple solution, and one that doesn't mean tossing out our individual civil rights, and it goes like this: those who choose to wear a mask can do so, and those who do not are not mandated against their free will.
Thank you. Welcome. Name and address, and the floor is, just make sure the light's on. The floor is yours. Is it? Yeah. Yeah, good. Welcome.
Evangeline Flaherty, 78 Jackson Road. I'm here to briefly address an issue I was going to save for the Board of Education, but since decided I would bring to your attention tonight as well. I'm deeply concerned about the education of our children are receiving here in Enfield. The other day, my 10-year-old expressed to me her discomfort during English class. She described an assignment which asked the kids to put themselves into groups they felt they belonged to. One of the bulleted examples was sexuality. I reached out to the teacher in order to have a better understanding of the goal of the assignment. The teacher explained it was part of their social and civic unit where they focus on aspects of our identity as individuals, as well as groups we belong to that help shape our identity. The teacher confirmed to me that sexuality was used as an example. My concern is that our children should not be faced with questions regarding their sexual orientation at 10 years old. By asking these questions too early, we are losing focus on the basic educational needs of the students. I don't believe this was an appropriate lesson for my 10-year-old, so I'm here to bring it to attention so we can try to do something about it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Welcome.
Matthew Schmidt, 55 North Main Street. Good evening, Town Council members. I spoke here over a month ago against the mask mandate in schools, noting that it is common knowledge that children are not at great risk from COVID and that there is evidence of harm caused by childhood mask usage. And I wondered openly how one could turn a blind eye to children being harmed. At the time, this council balked at my suggestion that if the Board of Education was unwilling or unable to act in removing the school mask mandate, that this council should force them to do so. Having attended a couple of recent Board of Education meetings, I decided to revisit this council to see if you are now willing to help Enfield's children. After hearing from many concerned residents opposed to masking children, some members of the Enfield Board of Ed expressed their reticence to act against the state mandate based on the prospect of being sued. That's right. The board's legal counsel told them that they would not have the normal immunity afforded to municipal elected officials in this case, and that they could be, and most likely would be, sued personally, with the possibility of a devastating financial outcome for each member. Now, I don't know if the board's legal counsel is the one that is associated with the Connecticut House Majority Leader, or if that even has any bearing on the legal advice they received. But the fact that a duly elected local board is unable to act in the best interests of children because of the threat of litigation should send a shiver down the spines of all elected officials. I ask that you find a way to help the Enfield Board of Ed, now acting under duress, to at the very least relax the school mask mandate and make it optional for parents. Even if you do not yet realize the harm of masking children, the overarching issue of the state taking away local control of such decisions through force and coercion should bring pause to any person who participates in civic politics. We're reminded often that we should eat local and buy local. Just as important, we need to legislate local. Relinquishing local authority has the long-term effect of disenfranchising the public. The public's voice is muted, but they do not disappear. Out of necessity, they migrate to alternative processes that allow them to enjoy all the rights of their life, processes that are often extra-legal and beyond the reach of government. Local political authority then withers on the vine. Impotence becomes irrelevance, and that is the surest death for any democratic institution. Because once you indicate that you don't have the power to act, the next obvious question is, why then does your civic body exist? So again, whether or not you believe in mask mandates, as a local elected official, you should believe such decisions be made locally. So help the Enfield Board of Education free itself from the bonds it believes the state is tied around it. Work with them. Fight for them. Keep Enfield decisions local. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Peter Janitis, 3 Farmstead Circle. Peter Janitis, 3 Farmstead
Welcome.
Circle. I still live there. God, I feel like my issue is nothing compared to what everybody else is talking about. I came down here tonight to personally thank each and every one of you Bob, Carl, Charlotte, Cynthia, Donna's not here, Gina, Joey B's not here, Joe, Kelly, and Laurie, and Mike, for all the efforts and help that you did in fixing the impending swamp forest being formed behind my property line. Oh, wait a minute, I made a mistake. None of you, not one of you, has done a damn thing about it to rectify the problem. Look, I know the Board of Ed and the Town Council at times have to make difficult and controversial decisions. I understand why most of these decisions are made. I was part of the Board of Ed for a long time. I understand why these decisions are made. I know your decisions are made in what you think are in the best interests of the town of Enfield. I realize some of your decisions may cost lots of money, especially after hearing you today. Or, as in a recent decision, many believe cost the town a lot of money. And as hard as it is for people to believe, especially people who pay attention to these meetings, I know, or at least I hope I know, that none of you take your marching orders from your party chairmans. Now, I'm asking this council to make a small decision, nothing like what these people are asking for, at a minimum cost. I'm no engineer, but I do know there are some ways to easily and at a very little cost to rectify the problem behind my property. You can fix the channel where the water comes underneath my property and empties out in the corner of my property into the basin. All the water that comes down there is from the cul-de-sac. Every drain comes into the one right that goes underneath my house. Or not my house, my property. And then there's an outlet, an overflow outlet that never gets the water. The water just sits there. This basin retains and holds all the water, primarily because of the low water table and the poor workmanship in the channel when it was originally constructed. This is a costly way of solving the problem. Now, for some quick and simpler solutions, you could connect where the water comes out of the piping with some plastic piping like I see all over town that's being put under the roads, and then have that water carried all the way to the overflow outlet, just running the pipeline. It wouldn't solve the problem totally, but it certainly would help an awful lot. Or you could connect the piping to where the water comes out of the sewer and add about 30 or 40 feet, then put an elbow in it and run another pipe, maybe at 30 feet, to the center of the basin where the water already collects. It's already a swampy area in there, and there's a forest area in there. And then you could just let the water sit there as it gets sucked up into the earth or evaporates. Now, this whole basin thing has gotten to the point where it has gotten because the town never did any maintenance on it for 25 years, which is what it was supposed to do. They just let it sit there. And finally, I think the cheapest and easiest way to rectify the problem is simply build a berm. Can't be any simpler. Using trap rock that the town already has, or that ground up road tar that the town already has, build a 2-foot berm. Run it the length of that channel that's already been destroyed and is non-existent. This would help stop all the water from the entire cul-de-sac from collecting behind my home and my property. And if I still have a couple times, just
30 seconds, go ahead.
The opera house players, make a commitment to the arts. You're making a commitment to everything else. I mean, geez, that seems like common sense. The mask mandates. I would say when the legislature says that the masks are no longer required or it's up to the local authorities, that both you and the Board of Ed get together and stop the kids wearing those masks. And then finally, with the last lady who spoke, I hope somebody, the Board of Ed, and even the town council, you'll look at what's going on in our curriculum as far as CRT, equity, and sexuality. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak for the council for the first time? Welcome.
Hi,
Name and address.
Chris
Welcome.
D'Antonio, 18 Montano. Apologize for running a bit late. Can I make a comment on the ADU opt-out? I know the.
Oh, yeah, you
special-
can certainly, this is public communication, you certainly can. Yep.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. Speaking out against opting out of. Here, let me rephrase. I oppose Enfield opting out of the state's ADU provision. I think that ADUs are an important facet of Enfield's diverse housing opportunities. I know there's been kind of a lot of hoopla about how much of an impact they can have on the town. Everybody's going to have an ADU if you open them up. People are going to go wild and build skyscrapers, build, these slums. That's not what this is about, right? It's about, having, so I guess to set the context, right, we have very restrictive ADU zoning regulations in Enfield right now. It even limits it to pretty much blood relatives or married relatives. So this is telling people, Enfield residents, pretty much legislating who lives in their houses. I don't know. Seems a little off to me. The state's recent provision allows ADUs as of right for single-family homes. That does not exempt them from fire code, health code, safety code. It does not exempt them from all that. So they still have to adhere to all that. They still have to adhere to all other design codes. They're limited in size to 30% of the main property, main building, or 1,000 square feet, whichever is smaller. So it's not an infinite size. I think there's been a lot of dramatics about it. Again, it's really just giving power back to the property owners. It's not completely like negating zoning, right? We can still design zoning code to have good-looking ADUs, accessory apartments that fit, this character of the neighborhood, which you can't even do nowadays, but the design characteristics of neighborhoods. So that they fit in and, they're not a sore thumb. They're not like these 3-story, behemoths. They're not, sitting on the property line overlooking the neighbor's backyard. I know there's a lot of concern about property values. They've actually been proven to bring up property values. They can increase Enfield's tax base. Again, it's not like it's not a single, like, it's lots of little, benefits. You don't do it for the money. You don't necessarily do it just for this. But it's really just empowering Enfield property owners to kind of, have a little more say in how they use their property. If they want, to build a small space for their friends or to rent out, Enfield can still limit short-term rentals if we're concerned about Airbnbs and other short-term rentals being used. So I just wanted to again speak out against Enfield opting out. I think this is a miss if we do this. I know the zoning commission was very adamant about it. That's their prerogative. I just hope that you guys can make the right decision on accessory apartments. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak for the council for the first time? Anyone else like to speak for the second time? Anyone else like to speak for the second time? Hearing none, I declare public communications closed. Move on to item 8, councilor communications. Councilor Mancini.
Thank you. The Enfield Junior Women's Club was very thankful on the proclamation that you were able to have prepared, Mayor Mike, and they sent a thank you to the town of Enfield for preparing the proclamation, celebrating their 50th anniversary celebration. So I just wanted to make note of that. And also I wanted to thank the Mexican Independence Day celebration organizers for the invitation to attend such a wonderful ceremony yesterday. I was pleased to attend with my fellow colleagues from the council and several others, and it was just a beautiful facility at the old Polish country facility. They did a beautiful job fixing it up, and the ceremony was just beautiful. So I just wanted to put that out there, that I was very grateful to be an invitee. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Hamler, then Councilor Casati.
Because it is Constitution Week, I wanted to point out that it should be parents' choice. The parents do know best, and I will publicly say, as far as the vax and the mask, my body, my choice.
Councilor Casati. Councilor Ongara.
Yeah, there's a couple of comments that I'd like to make. First of all, I want to commend the Weymouth Road Firehouse for hosting the 20th anniversary of the 9/11. They had a wonderful ceremony. They had a parade. Special thanks to Deputy Chief Bill Higgins and Chief Ed Richards and all the fire district commissioners. It was a wonderful tribute to the nearly 3,000 people who perished that day, and included 343 firefighters. Once again, it was a wonderful, heart-moving ceremony. So I just wanted to give accolades to the fire commissioners for that ceremony. Also attended the splash pad opening at Parkman. It's nice to see the number of children and families attend that opening to enjoy that new facility. A number of us attended that opening, and once that's fully open and everything goes for next season, once the grass is grown in, and looking forward to that being open full time. So, and I know there's not much time left to it because the weather's changing, but yesterday I also attended the Mexican Independence Day. Thank you to Amilcar Cardova, who heads up the Grupo Mexicano America group. And one of the things that, which was great, there was a lot of Mexican culture. You want to talk about a real nice cultural event. Once again, a number of us attended that. But I want to publicly thank Amilcar for his hospitality. Also, a couple of weeks ago, the Enfield Police Department took part in the Over the Edge fundraiser event for Connecticut Special Olympics. They raised $14,000 for the state of Connecticut Special Olympics, and I think that is awesome. This is something that I'm highly involved with Connecticut Special Olympics, and for Team Enfield to do what they did, and they do it every year, but this year they raised $14,000, and Chief Fox and the guys that took place in the Over the Edge event, above and beyond. And we're really proud of that department. That's something that's very important to the town of Enfield. We have the Allied Stars, and they will benefit from that. So I wanted to give a shout out to that. Also, in regard to everybody that came and spoke tonight, thank you for your opinions on what you stated in regard to your choices. So I do appreciate that. Also, I think ever since the Opera House Players came to town, I don't think I missed one event. And this is a group that been very, very supportive with, and we will work together. We've had conversations, and so we do hear you, and we'll have further discussions with that. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Angaya.
Okay. Good evening. Opera House Players, Amanda, Mr. Schmidt, Peter Janitis. I appreciate you coming and giving us all your thoughts and concerns, and please don't think that they fall on deaf ears. We've had conversations, phone calls, emails regarding all those situations, and just like in your own home, some things you can fix. You can change a light bulb, and other things take a little more planning with your family and trying to get ducks in order and things like that. So please know that we hear you, and we're talking about it. And Opera House Players, I've recently been over to your facility, and I know what you're talking about. And I also wanted to thank Evangeline for coming out and expressing her concerns about her daughter. Thank you for making us aware of that. On another note, over at the Senior Center, they have a new roof and new lights on their gazebo, so that's something they're really excited about, and it looks beautiful. They also had a new water bottle filling station installed in their great room, so when they're using the gym and socializing, they can refill their bottles. They're having lunches every day. In August, they had 200 to 250 people come by the center daily. Before the pandemic, they'd have 300 or 400. So even though attendance is down, the people that are really attending and using it appreciate it being open. Also, in the month of August, 68 families were served Meals on Wheels, so that's still helping people. Also, on 9/11, we had a beautiful prayer here in the gazebo on the town green, and that was very well attended. So that's it.
Councilor Mueller.
I make a motion to suspend the rules and move items E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and L to miscellaneous and proceed to vote.
Motion made to suspend rules, and but Councilor Mueller, second by Councilor Mangini, to move E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and L to miscellaneous. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing by show of hands, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstention? 9 in favor, 0 against. To suspend the rule and to move the miscellaneous. You have the floor.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I assume you're going to talk on a couple of the issues, so I won't. Again, just fantastic job by everyone who came up to speak tonight. Well, everyone was well-spoken, calm, made your points, fantastic. I mean, really well. This, in my opinion, one of the best nights we've had of people speaking, no matter what your issue was. Well done by everybody. And, again, it's Constitution Week, and we need 3 levels of government as what the Constitution says we should have: a judiciary, an executive, and a legislature. It's time to get back to, again, honoring the Constitution, which we did tonight. And the state should be, again, not extending any emergency rules. We should be getting back to 3 forms of government. And I agree with folks. And again, I hope more parents, no matter what your opinion is, stands up and fight for your kids. It's great to see. It's great to see. And with that, I will turn over to the town manager report, item 9.
Thank you, Mr.
Welcome.
Mayor, members of the council, guests. One I will post tomorrow on the town manager website, in addition to the many other presentations we've had from 6 to 7, both the presentation by JFK to update the public on the tremendous job that they're doing at JFK. And for those who may not watch it but will hear me speak, it's under budget and ahead of schedule. They're doing a tremendous job. It's going to be a gem. Number 2, we also did a proposed expenditure of the $12.9 million that the town is going to receive from the American Recovery Act. We've received half of that. It's in the bank. The next check will be in the mail, hopefully next summer. And we had a proposal within the federal guidelines as to how we should expend that for the betterment of the town. And I'll put that presentation up. Anybody at home who has any comments for the council, please forward those to us, because this isn't written in stone. It's merely our proposal, having gone to seminars, consulted our congressional staff, and also viewed CROG and other state presentations on how to best spend the money, in addition to other towns around the state. So we'll post that. I would echo what Councilor Crissati said. It was a wonderful day out there at the splash pad at Parkman last weekend. Even in the ensuing week and this past weekend, it's been highly used. There's nothing more gratifying than being out there and seeing young families and kids be able to enjoy an amenity such as that. And I'll just tell you, in addition to the playscape behind Town Hall, a young family came up to me and they just said, please thank the mayor and the council. We live in town. We've been here for a long time. We've waited for the splash pad. We've heard about it. We did never think it would come to reality. And they said also the playscape behind Town Hall. They said, we both work. We have limited funds. We can't afford to take our kids on vacation and go to the shore or to the beach. We've had to go to other towns to go to the splash pad and use some of these things. And just thank them from the bottom of our hearts that they put these two things in. And thank you. And they used both of them. We don't want to let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I've seen out there some people say, well, it was muddy, there's no grass yet. The walkway isn't paved yet. Well, Rome wasn't built in a day. We promised to try to get it open this year despite COVID, despite construction delays, despite the installers getting COVID. During the hurricane, the parts were coming from New Orleans. We had to wait, but we wanted to keep our promise and get that up and running. And next year we'll have picnic tables, we'll have signage, we'll have it posted, and the council can consider anything else they would like to do to enhance it. I would just tell you, it was done on a state bid. That's what those splash pads cost, not less. Sometimes a lot more. We went a lot larger. It's as big as this area. Some people think it's supposed to have been a water park. We're not competing with Six Flags. We're not charging admission. If you go to Chicopee, the first rendering that they showed the council and me, there were 3 little spigots for $80,000, and we said, no, that won't cut it. And we went to this one, which is quite beautiful. So we're very proud of it, and I'm glad that we were able to get it in this year. And because we really pushed, and I thank Public Works and Building and Grounds for breaking their neck to get it in with all the other projects they're doing, so that at least kids could get a couple weeks at the end of summer when school started, and we'll be able to hit the ground and open it in the spring. So I thank Building and Grounds and Public Works, and I thank the council. In regard to Peter Giannitis' remark, I know last time he had left early. I addressed it. We've talked to Public Works. I will, tomorrow at my staff meeting, commend his comments to them to review. We'll look at it. I'll have them meet with Peter again, and if we can accommodate him, that's what we try to do. And if it's a bigger project for the area and the neighborhood, that's something why we consider during the CIP portion of the budget for next year, which we're looking at projects and we're doing things, and we have American Recovery money. That's not eligible for this, but it does free up money for projects of this sort. So we will look at it, and we will get in touch with you, Mr. Giannitis. In regard to Opera House Players, I too have gone to their shows, was looking forward and am looking forward to going to Mamma Mia. I love the movie, and I love the second movie. I would just say, though, I think we've been good partners. I know people don't understand the process sometimes. We had hoped to have it down this evening for executive session to discuss it, as we've had them in executive session to discuss their lease in the past, but time just didn't permit it with other pressing business. So we'll look at it. I don't think their deadline that they outlined in September is going to work for us, because we can only consider town business and take action at these meetings. And our next meeting is the first Monday of October. So they have all the information. We'll look at it. I would just like to point out that I think we have been good partners. We've worked giving them some space, and they do rent. They've been good tenants out at the annex. We've made space available for their production and rehearsals. High Street, obviously, you get into it like any other old building, and you find things that usually aren't good. And that's what's happened there. There's quite a significant cost to bring it up to par. We've Given that to council, you'll have to consider it. It's improvements of probably a couple of 100,000 or more, and you've got to consider amongst all the other projects that are vying for your attention, whether that's an investment that you're able to make at this time. But I will just say in the past, we've had them in. Nelson Teresio assisted and directed them, I believe. They successfully applied for a $58,000 grant under COVID. We, I think, assisted them obtaining another grant for $6,000, which they received. I know Congressman Courtney's been out there. I've talked to almost all of you about it recently. I know you all support it. And I will tell you, when we did our last business breakfast and we had the governor as guest and we had hundreds of businesses, the only business or group that I allowed to come out in the lobby, and we had many requests by many groups because we had so many hundreds of people with the governor, the only ones we invited that came were the Opera House players. So we believe in them, and hopefully we'll work with them in the future. But again, limited resources, and the council has to abide by the rules. We can't, unfortunately, do things with a phone call and take an action that would be improper. So we brought it to your attention, and the council will make their informed decision and hopefully be able to get them in at the October meeting. And if there's any other information you need from what I've supplied you over the last couple of weeks, please let me know. Kasha has a good rapport, and we'll reach out to them and get you that information. I think that's it for me.
Any questions for the town manager? You know, Chris, my only suggestion or recommendation, if we do make an exception, we just simply, again, if we either do the facility use policy or we don't. I mean,
well, I think that, again, was for your consideration. It wasn't included in the agenda. The council sets the policy use for our facilities. The Board of Ed has limited it for obvious reasons in the schools. They don't want to take all of the precautions during the day and then have a lot of people come in they don't have control over in the evening. In town buildings, it's your decision. But I would tell you, I've supplied to you the list of groups that use it, and it will set a precedent. You're certainly able to do it. You can work with the town attorney how you would cut it out. But please understand, we like them and we care for them, but each and every other one of the dozens of organizations that use our facilities are worthy as well. So I think you should consider it, Mr. Mayor, my humble opinion, either allow it for all or allow it for none.
Exactly.
Because I don't think we have favorites, and the same holds true for a lot of these other groups. They rely on that space to conduct their business. They're all worthy. They're all civic-minded volunteers, much like Opera House. So again, I had it. I sent it to you.
Yep.
It wasn't included. I don't set this agenda. I only forward it to the council, and leadership does with your input. So again, we had that on, and it's for your consideration if you would like to look at it the first meeting in October as well.
thank you. Any other questions for the town manager? Item 10, town attorney report. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Mayor. There's nothing to report publicly this evening.
Thank you. Any questions for the town attorney? Off the hook. We move to item 11, report of any special committees. Anyone have any report of any special committees? We move on to item 12, old business. Item A stays on the table. Item 12B, old business, stays on the table. Item 12C stays on the table, and item 12D stays on the table. We move to new business. Item 13. Item A, consent agenda, there is none. Item 13B, there is no town council appointments. Items 13C, there is no town manager council approved appointments. And item 13D, under new business, there is no P&Z commission council approved appointments. Item 14, items for discussion. Item A, there is no consent agenda. Item B, town council appointed, there are none. Item C, under items for discussion, town manager appointed, council approved, there are none. And item D, P&Z Commission appointed, council approved. Again, there are none. E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and L have been moved to miscellaneous. So we move right over to this miscellaneous. So 1 second. Item E. Bear with me. Sorry. Okay. Make sure I get the right. Sorry about that, folks. Okay. Okay. Item E, discussion resolution to approve a 3-year collective bargaining agreement with the Teamsters Local Number 671. Resolved to approve a 3-year collective bargaining agreement with Teamsters Local 671. And resolved, the Enfield Town Council does approve the 3-year collective bargaining agreement between the Town of Enfield and the Teamsters Local number 671, dated July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2024. Submitted on August 31st, 2021 by our Human Resource Director, Steve Belinda.
So moved.
Second.
By Councilor Muller, seconded by Councilor Mangini. Pretty
You're
straightforward,
familiar
but
with
yeah,
it.
good news. Yeah.
It is Steve Belinda, our HR director, is here if you'd like to come up in case you have any questions. Otherwise, you are familiar with it. I think it's appropriate, and it's the last one in a series for now.
I don't know, Steve, you're here. Are you welcome, certainly, to make a comment if you like? You're welcome. Come on up. Sure. Welcome.
Good evening, Steve Belinda, Director of Human Resources. I just want to impress upon you for considering adopting this contract. As you know, nationally and even in the state, there's a shortage of bus drivers, and bus companies are poaching employees such as ours that are driving the Magic Carpet and Dial-A-Ride drivers. These drivers are important to your residents who bring people to and from the grocery store, doctor's appointments, things like that. So this contract helps even the playing field to a certain degree. I mean, it's getting competitive out there, but a lot of our drivers enjoy their routes. They have the rapport with their passengers, and they do want to stay. And I want to stay somewhat competitive in the marketplace. I'm free to answer any questions that you may
Any
have.
questions for Steve? Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Roll call, please, Sheila.
Councilor Mangini,
Or
Councilor Muller,
4.
Councilor Riley,
4.
Councilor Sofraza,
4.
Councilor Ungary,
4.
Councilor Sakala,
4.
Councilor Crisati,
4.
Councilor Hemler,
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
That's 9 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, Steve. Move on to item F, discussion resolution, request to transfer funds for the collective bargaining agreement of Teamsters Local number 671 of $56,820. Resolved that in accordance with Chapter 6, 8F of the Town Charter, the following transfer is hereby made. From general fund appropriated fund balance, unallocated charges of $56,820 from to the Social Service Transportation Revenue General Transfer Funds in of $56,820. Certified the above funds are available as of September 13th, 2021 by our Director of Finance, John Wilcox, and approved by our Town Manager, Chris Bromson.
So moved.
By Councilor Muller, seconded by Councilor Mangini. This is just the allocation of the money that we just approved. Any questions? Hearing none, roll call, please, Sheila.
Councilor Mangini,
Or
Councilor Muller,
4.
Councilor Riley,
4.
Councilor Sofraza,
4.
Councilor Ungary,
4.
Councilor Sakala,
4.
Councilor Crisati,
4.
Councilor Hemler,
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
9 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Thank you, Sheila. Item G, discussion resolution to opt out of the provision of the Public Act PA number 21 through 29 regarding accessory dwelling units, ADUs, for Section 6F. Whereas the Planning and Zoning Commission, also known as PZC, has recommended that the town opt out of the Public Act number 21 through 29 accessory dwelling units, also known as ADU provisions. Whereas in order to opt out of the ADU provision, the Enfield Town Council must hold a public hearing subsequent to the P&Z public hearing and gain a 2/3 vote in favor of opting out, whereas the Town Council held a public hearing on September 20, 2021, whereas there is legitimate concerns with the proposed ADU regulations. Now therefore be it resolved, the Enfield Town Council votes to opt out of the Public Act number 21 through 29, Section 6F of the ADU provisions.
So moved.
By Councilor Muller. Seconded by Councilor Riley. Is Lori or anyone, no? Want to speak on this one, or?
Hello, Mayor, this is Lori. I'm available to answer questions or give a synopsis for your desire.
Thank you, Lori, appreciate it. Councilor Mangini.
Yes, thank you, Lori. I apologize, but I'm in the dark on this one. I understand Planning and Zoning had, knowledge back in August on the details of this issue. Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with what we're looking to not do or what we're looking to accomplish. Could you please give some background on this issue?
Yes, of course. So right now, the town allows accessory apartments, which is basically what we call in-law apartments, They're typically part of a house. They're between 400 and 750 square feet. Minimum lot size 17,000 square feet. What the Public Act is mandating municipalities to do is allow up to 1,000 square foot second dwelling units on any residential lot, provided they meet all of the minimum bulk and area requirements. That would be by right, essentially, with the zoning permit, as opposed to a special use permit. The commission has, or the Planning and Zoning Commission do have a bit of a concern over overtaxing utilities, preventing predictability with expected backyard privacy, drainage issues, additional traffic and street parking, overall lack of oversight, among some others. I will say that as we proceed with our update to the zoning regulations, I think that we should absolutely consider having another component in them regarding accessory dwelling units, but to our standards, not the state's. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I wasn't sure if, in fact, we were looking at law apartments. As you know, I'm a realtor, and much of the demand currently is for in-law apartments because of our COVID situation and because of family issues, financial issues. I'm just a little bit concerned, again, that if we dismiss allowing these units, we're going to be hurting our residents that are already established in Enfield. So I just want to thank you for the background on that.
Yeah. May I just qualify that we do allow the in-law apartments right now. These would be basically building a second house on a single family lot. The in-law apartments are usually connected to the house, where these would be separate.
Sorry, Councilman Jean, you said? Or?
No. Now I'm more confused. So, in other words, these accessory dwelling units are not in-law apartments. They are...
Correct, they're dwellings. Correct.
They become an apartment and not an in-law apartment.
Okay, I got you. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Councilor Sakala?
Why? Oh, okay. What is the benefit of opting out? Like, why do we need to opt out? If we don't opt out, what happens?
I guess theoretically, anybody that has a single-family lot of any size, provided they have enough room for, impervious coverage and setbacks, they could build a second house up to 1,000 square feet on any lot.
And that would be, so they would have to be given a permit by the town.
They would be given a zoning permit.
Right, they would have to be approved.
Right.
All right.
But they would be approved by a zoning permit, not a special permit or a public hearing. So the commission would like to have more oversight over it. And like I say, I think that we'll come up with some alternative regulations that will allow these, but not just anywhere.
Mr. Mayor, may I chime in on that to answer Councilor Sakala's question?
Yep.
Yes. There was a memorandum July 16, 2021 that I addressed to the town council regarding Public Act 2129, the ADU legislation from the governor. And there are two real main components. There's this opt-out provision that municipalities can opt out by January 1, 2023. If a municipality does not opt out of this new legislation for accessory dwelling units, then by January 1, 2022, coming up in a few months, any provisions of your zoning regulations that are non-compliant with this new legislation will be deemed null and void. And so the Public Act itself is 30 pages, and it's,
Mr. Mayor?
Full of minutia.
I had thought in my heart that there hadn't been much discussion about this, so I was a little surprised we'd be proceeding. Given the tenor of the questions, it's up to you. I would feel more comfortable if you would table it and that we could do a presentation, perhaps a special between 6 and 7, because we did that at Planning and Zoning, the town attorney and Lori. It is a little bit complicated. I think it's important. I think you should have more information.
Right.
So I would just
Especially
suggest.
the special use permit loss is huge,
Right.
which
I
I think,
mean-
I'm sorry, you
No,
have the
and
floor, I
that-
apologize.
No,
Yep.
because that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
I don't understand why
Right.
we would need to have an outright ban. Feel like we're just keep doing this.
I think you need more information. I think
Yes.
Lori should be here in person, the town attorney, and at the next meeting, we do have time, but we could do it, provided one of the next two, and have a special at 6 to 7, or 6 to 6:30, bring in the experts and let you hear all that the planning and zoning. Lori, not that it matters, but what was the vote at the planning and zoning?
It was
Do you know?
unanimous. It said.
Unanimous?
It was unanimous.
Yeah.
All right, so
And-
perhaps
right.
it's something that isn't controversial, but I think you should have more information.
I do, and I do know that, Jim. I know you sent out that memo, and I think you sent it to me actually twice. And I'm not necessarily against the idea, but if the town can, like Lori's saying, sort of redo some of their regs so there's a happy medium, I don't understand why we would need to opt out, but yet not have our regulations be a little more lenient prior to opting out. I just feel like, I don't know.
If I may, I think
agree with you. It should be tabled.
I think tabling it makes perfect sense, but just so we're clear, what was proposed and what is proposed with the ADU opt-out is not to eliminate all of our existing regulations on accessory dwelling units or in-law apartments. My understanding is our regs would stay the same. The opt-out is that you would be opting out of the governor's much more comprehensive wholesale revision. But what happened was the way the law is designed, again, to focus on local control, the legislation required that in order to opt out, it first goes to planning and zoning. So what happened is over the summer, this massive piece of legislation came in when the marijuana legislation came in and all of these other things. And so we did a memo, we analyzed it, it went through staff. I think we gave a little blurb at a meeting, and then it went to PZC. It came back, and here we are. So that's the backdrop.
Thank you.
Councilor Crissati?
Well, I think it's a good idea that we're tabling it. Some of the questions were already answered, and thank you for that. I guess my question is the single dwelling has there been a lot of applications for single dwellings on additional property? That's my question. Is there been a lot of interest in this in the town?
I would defer to Lori, but one other thing that's really important that hasn't been said is that this is essentially, it is linked in with affordable housing, but Enfield is exempt from the affordable housing statute because that requires that municipalities have 10%. We have well above 10% of affordable housing. I would defer to Lori about Councilor Crissati's
And I wouldn't do it piecemeal. I think Lori has this information. I would ask any counselors, now that you're focused on it, to look at his memo. And even though he gave a synopsis, it's pretty complicated. But those type of questions, please forward to us. We'll give to Lori, and we'll try with leadership to set it for the meeting thereafter. And we should really give it the attention it deserves and do it during one of our special presentations.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Mangini?
Well, thank you. That's why I was confused by this rush to pass, this resolution. I'm glad we're going to table it, but in addition, through our mayor to our town manager, to our town attorney, could council please receive maybe bullets, additional information in addition to your memo? I remember seeing the memo. As a realtor, I know what a single-family dwelling is. I know the in-law apartment, but it didn't hit me in the face like it's hitting me right now that we are going to be asked to vote for or against something. I'm not going to do that. So without detail, without information, it's simply not fair to the council. Thank you.
To the town attorney, I'll ask him perhaps he could do some bullets from his memo, and I will ask Lori to prepare one from her perspective.
Of course I will.
Lori, so to be clear, though, if we're not able to update regulations, as you mentioned, by January 1, this trumps that, right? Correct?
Well, yes. So
Right,
if we,
so that's the rub why we have to do this quickly, is that
Yeah.
are you able to do the regulations in a couple months period that, again, it takes away the special use permit, which gives the town and residents a chance to speak before someone builds something in their backyard, well-meaning or not, it's still, I mean, we're talking about local control and everything, and here we are, if we don't opt out of it, we give up local control, and unless we can get our regulations in place before January 1, I mean, that's what people need to be clear on.
correct, yeah. And I mean, I do believe that we'll be working on these regulations, but as you all know, that we are updating the entire zoning regulation from front to back.
No,
so
I know.
This would be another component of it.
And I'm sorry, again, going through when people putting up sheds is not without people living there. I mean, a lot of our lots aren't an acre; they're half an acre. You know, they may be, and I understand we can control some of that, but this is not as. I'm sorry, this is a little bit worrisome in certain neighborhoods, and I know we can't isolate it to certain neighborhoods. So, I mean, this really does change. Sometimes could change the direction of a neighborhood. And again, when you take away the special use permit, neighbors can't come and speak for or against it at a meeting because there's no public hearing. So that's what people have to understand. You know, I mean, that's when you take away the public hearing aspect. In my opinion, that's a big deal. So I think that's what people need to understand, that someone could build a nice little dwelling in their backyard. And again, we also, the other thing too is what we've learned through this last 6 months with the amount of rain that we have had, people who've gotten water in their cellars they've never gotten before. I mean, we will always have drainage issues in this town because of we're built on wetlands. Almost every section of town is built on wetlands. I mean, we need to be, this is a little bit nervous that, we don't have a lot of time, and then someone builds something in their backyard. And again, I've seen it actually gone to people's houses where someone's regraded their backyard, put in a nice pool. Now the neighbor 2 houses down has got a river in their backyard. So, I mean, these are big things that people need to understand. This is not as simple as giving an in-law apartment. So, I mean, folks need to understand that. So I have no problem tabling it, and so we'll, unless anyone has any other questions or comments. Okay, hearing none, we don't have to do anything. It stays on the table. We don't need to I don't think we need a motion, right? We're just not voting on it. Sheila, we don't need a motion, do we?
I would entertain a motion and have a show of
Okay,
hands.
sure. Can I have a motion to table?
Motion to table. item
Councilor Muller, second by Councilor Mangini. Any discussion on tabling? Hearing none, by show of hands, all those in favor? Opposed, abstention, 9 in favor, 0 against. Item G is tabled. We move on to item H. Discussion resolution referring to the Planning and Zoning Commission proposed conveyance of town-owned land located at 110 High Street. Whereas the town of Enfield owns property located at 110 High Street, and whereas the council has referred this matter to the Planning and Zoning Commission, also known as the Commission for a Report in Conformance with the requirements of Connecticut General Statute 8-24, and whereas the Commission will make a recommendation pursuant to the above referenced statute at the September 23rd, 2021 meeting, whereas under certain conditions, Connecticut General Statute 7-163E requires a legislative body of municipality to conduct a public hearing prior to the sale, lease, or transfer of real property owned by the municipality. Now therefore be it resolved, the Enfield Town Council does hereby schedule a public hearing regarding the conveyance of 110 High Street to be held on October 4th, 2021, to begin at 6:45 in the council chambers in the Enfield Town Hall, which is located at 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, in order to receive public comment. Prepared by Nelson Tereso, Deputy Director of Economic Community Development, on September 9th, 2021.
So moved.
By Councilor Riley, seconded by Councilor Muller. Pretty straightforward, but I don't know if I know Nelson.
I don't think we have to get into the weeds of the specifics of it. I think it's just a success story. I will just state that, council had approved a building consolidation plan in the fall, and I think people are very busy. They don't take notice of it, but the purpose of it was to consolidate services in a part.
Sorry, I actually jumped the shark. I actually took the wrong public. I actually took item I So I missed item 8.
They're all going to fall into the same category. So, again, with our building consolidation plan, we're on schedule within budget. We have the new recreation out at the annex, and these two properties, 52 Prospect, where building and grounds resides, and 110 High Street, where social services is. All of those departments are being consolidated elsewhere at the annex and also in Alcorn. We're on schedule, and the good news is, as you promised our residents, this was to reduce our footprint, to get rid of buildings and the cost of maintaining them when we can put them in other facilities. So by doing this, we're going to be selling these two properties. We need permission of planning and zoning. One already, we have a great offer in the vicinity of over $400,000. So not only will we receive that revenue for our general fund, but also these will be put back on the tax rolls. And we will be saving money every year on maintenance, on plowing, on custodial. So it's a tremendous success story. A credit to the council. It was the years in the making with joint facilities, Gina and Donna making recommendations to the general council, and the hard work of Public Works to be making these improvements, a lot of them in-house. We saved a lot of money. And again, even your foresight in doing an option to get the express, where we were able to consolidate and put a couple of town departments, and now the ARA federal money is paying for that, not the taxpayers of Enfield. So I applaud you, and that's what these two matters are, just getting approval so that we can sell these properties.
Sheila, do I have to, since I jumped a item, do we have to make any motion, or I just could go back to the last motion,
And reread the first the motion H, right?
Yeah, so just go back. I don't have to read. I take, okay,
Just
got
go
it.
back.
Thank you, sorry. I just want to make sure, my bad, Sheila. Any questions on that? Hearing none, again, we're on item I, and that's what we're voting on, the conveyance over to the planning and zoning. Hearing none, roll call, please, Sheila.
Councilor Mangini.
4.
Councilor Muller.
4.
Councilor Riley.
4.
Councilor Sofraza.
4.
Councilor Ungary.
4.
Councilor Sakala.
4.
Councilor Crisati.
4.
Councilor Hemler.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
9 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Again, I apologize, my bad. Item H, resolution referring to the Planning and Zoning Commission proposed conveyance of town-owned land located at 110 High Street. Town of Enfield owns the public property located at 110 High Street, and whereas the town is currently marketing and will sell this property with services provided by the town vendor for real estate agency services. Whereas the council must refer this proposed conveyance to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a report in conformance with requirements of Connecticut General Statute 8-24. Now therefore be it resolved that the proposed conveyance of 110 High Street is referred to the Planning and Zoning Commission in conformance with requirements of Connecticut General Statute 824, prepared by Nelson Tereso, our Deputy Director of Economic Development, September 9, 2021.
So moved.
Councilor Muller, seconded by Councilor Mangini. This is just a conveyance over to planning and zoning, what we just set a public hearing for. Any questions? Hearing none, roll call, please, Sheila.
Councilor Mangini. 4. Councilor Muller.
4.
Councilor Riley.
4.
Councilor Sofraza.
4.
Councilor Ungary.
4.
Councilor Sakala.
4.
Councilor Crisati.
4.
Councilor Hemler.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
9 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Thank you, Sheila. Item J, resolution authorizing the town manager to sign a real estate purchase contract on behalf of the town of Enfield for the sale of 110 High Street. Whereas the town of Enfield owns a property known as 110 High Street. Whereas pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 8-24, the town council has referred this proposed conveyance to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a report in conformance with the requirements of Connecticut General Statute 8-24 at its September 23, 2021 meeting. Whereas pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 7-163E, the town council will hold a public hearing on October 4th, 2021 regarding the proposed sale of the property. Whereas the town listed the property for sale, and now therefore be it resolved, Christopher W. Bronson, town manager, or his designee is authorized to sign the real estate purchase contract on behalf of the town of Enfield for the sale of 110 High Street to WHAMAT-LLC. Be it further resolved that Christopher W. Bronson, town manager, or his designee is authorized to sign all documents, including the deed, on behalf of the town of Enfield pertaining to the sale of the property of WHAMAT-LLC, subject to review and approval of our town attorney, submitted on September 9, 2021, by Nelson Tereso, our Deputy Director of Economic Development.
So moved.
By Councilor Mangini, seconded by Councilor Crisati. You've already explained it. Any questions for the town manager? Hearing none, roll call, please, Sheila.
Counselor Mangini.
4.
Counselor Muller.
4.
Counselor Riley.
4.
Counselor Safraza.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
4.
Counselor Crisati.
4.
Counselor Hemler.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
It's 9 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Thank you, Sheila. Item K, resolution referring to the Planning and Zoning Commission proposed conveyance of town-owned land located at 52 Prospect Street. Whereas the town of Enfield owns the property located at 52 Prospect Street, whereas the town intends to market and sell this property with the services provided by the town's vendor for real estate agency services. Whereas the council must refer this proposed conveyance to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a report in conformance with the requirements of Connecticut General Statute 8-24. Now therefore be it resolved, the proposed conveyance of 52 Prospect Street is referred to the Planning and Zoning Commission in conformance with the requirements of the Connecticut General Statute 8-24, prepared by Nelson Teresa, our Deputy Director of Economic Development, on September 7th, 2021.
So moved.
By Councilor Muller.
Second.
Second by Councilor Mangini. Again, this is just the continue of the properties, the conveyance over. Any questions? Hearing none, roll call, please, Sheila.
Counselor Mangini.
4.
Counselor Muller.
4.
Counselor Riley.
4.
Counselor Safraza.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
4.
Counselor Crisati.
4.
Counselor Hemler.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
9 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Thank you, Sheila. Item L, discussion resolution setting a public hearing, proposed conveyance of town-owned land located at 52 Prospect Street. Whereas the town of Enfield owns the property located at 52 Prospect Street, whereas the council has referred this matter to the Planning and Zoning Commission, also known as the Commission, for a report in conformance with the requirements of Connecticut General Statute 8-24. Whereas the Commission will make a recommendation pursuant to the above referenced statute at the September 23rd, 2021 meeting. Whereas under certain conditions, Connecticut General Statute 7-163 requires the legislative body of a municipality to conduct a public hearing prior to the sale, lease, or transfer of real property owned by the municipality. Now therefore be it resolved, the Enfield Town Council does hereby schedule a public hearing regarding the conveyance of 52 Prospect Street to be held on October 4th, 2021, to begin at 6:50 p.m. in the Enfield Town Council chambers of the Enfield Town Hall, which is located at 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, in order to receive public comment proposed by Nelson Teresa, our Deputy Director of Economic Development, on September 7th, 2021.
So moved.
By Councilor
Second.
Muller, seconded by Councilor Mangini. Again, to set in a public hearing. Roll call, please, Sheila.
Counselor Mangini.
4.
Counselor Muller.
4.
Counselor Riley.
4.
Counselor Safraza.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
4.
Counselor Crisati.
4.
Counselor Hemler.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
It's 9 in favor, none against, and no abstentions.
Thank you, Sheila. We move on to item 16, public communications. Would anyone like to speak for the town council at this time? Anyone, any audience would like to speak for the council at this time? Hearing none, I declare public communications closed. Item 17, is there any councilor communications? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn? By Councilor Muller? By Councilor Mangini. All those in favor, say aye. 9 in favor, 0 against. Meeting's adjourned. Good night, everyone, and thank you. Have a great night.